Hello, hello, everyone, and welcome to Midlife Talkshop with Rhonda and Shannon.
Hi.
Hi, everyone. I hope everyone's doing well out there. Spring has finally sprung here in Richmond, Virginia, right?
Thankfully.
And all that pollen.
Yeah, the
That's a little
sunshine and the pollen.
Yes. Well, today we have a very special guest. I'm so excited to have him here. His name is Nhat Pham. He is Chief Strategist of Success Works and author of Elevate X, Unlock Your Exponential Potential.
That's a lot to say.
That is a lot, but
Good
I
job,
love it.
Rhonda.
Those are some really powerful words in there, and I love it. Nat, let's start here. You framed midlife not as a crisis, but as a reinvention point, which I really love. What was happening in your life that led you to rethink identity and direction?
Yeah, first off, thanks for having me on the show. I'm excited to be here. So, what was happening in my life was I was going through a lot of challenges maritally, and it was a point where a lot of times we go into darkness, and sometimes we have to go through a little bit of that. But it's a reinvention point in the fact that in order to grow, we have to go through some discomfort or a lot of discomfort.
True.
Whether it's a crab or lobster who's got to break out of that shell, or a snake who's trying to rid of that old skin.
Oh, I like those analogies.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we need to grow, and in order to grow, there's discomfort. And what are we like? That original shell. Yes, that's part of us, but it doesn't define us, and it allows us to look at something even better than we actually were before, because that's what life's about. It's growth.
So,
Right.
your divorce, you're saying, was your catalyst for this huge change and growth that took place, right?
Yes, the divorce really forced you to look inward and take a look at who you really are, what are your values, and where do you go from here? Because the vision of what you had is now gone.
Right.
It's time
Right.
to re-envision. And you have to look at it as, hey, this is an opportunity, whether you call it God, the universe, life, it presents you a new opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't look at that way, you'll just spiral into this darkness. And,
Right.
it's okay to go through that for a spell, but you have to get out of that.
You can't get stuck in that.
So
falling deeper.
I want our listeners to
Yeah.
grab a pen and paper because what you're going to share with us today, I think, is really important and can be really helpful to you guys out there who is going through a divorce,
Yeah.
career shifts, change.
The whole idea of reinventing yourself and your identity in midlife is awesome. And I mean, there might be people going through, as you mentioned, divorce, but there's career shifts, there's major life transitions. Sometimes you might be losing a loved one
Yeah.
at this time in our lives, and people are thinking, well, where do I go from here? And they might be frozen. Is there something? Can you walk us through what you call your 5 pillars, and that framework is a practical lens for rebuilding? Can you
Yeah.
tell
So,
us about the 5 pillars?
And these are in your book, correct?
yeah,
Okay.
these are definitely in the book, and it'll take you through that whole process. And I came up with the 5 pillars because at that point of the divorce, I thought to myself, I'm not doing something correctly. Well, it's easy to blame the other person. You have to take some accountability for yourself as well. I mean, you chose them, so
Right.
there's that part of it. So I started asking friends, mentors, colleagues, really successful people, 10 years younger than me, same age, and 10 years ahead of me. That's what my mentors always have encouraged me to do. And there was well, not just one, but some fundamental commonalities that came out. And I wound up being able to frame it in these 5 pillars, and that is faith and spiritual, fitness and health, finance and business, family and community, and future and legacy.
Does everybody have their pen and paper out?
Right, because and you know what, Nat, I really love that you've got the spiritual and the faith as number one. Because I am a firm believer in co-creating my life with God. Some people, like you said, use universal life force or chi, but I
Yeah.
think it's huge. We're not alone. We have this power, this force connected with us if we just tune in.
Yeah, for sure. And if you're not that faith based, hopefully you're spiritual. And the faith is, what do you fundamentally believe in? Because as they always say, if you don't believe in anything, you'll fall for anything.
Right.
And so, what are your core values? Even if you're not sure of a God or an architect, there's some fundamental values that's going to be your guardrails. And for those, real quickly, who aren't sure what the universe is like, I always share the Fibonacci series, and it's the golden ratio. If you're in photography or anything like that, it's the numerical sequence of 0 plus 1 equals 1, 1 plus 1 equals 2, 3, 5. And if you look that up, it's the golden ratio, and it's in everything in life, from a crashing wave all the way to the Milky Way. It's that fundamental spiral, and it's in everything. It's in our bodies, it's in nature. So I would have you consider that, because I think that will help you with your faith in what you define as your values.
Yes.
And then you can move on there. So I think that's really why I started there.
I'm not sure I understand that. The seven, the
Oh,
numbers.
gotcha.
How does that relate to faith?
It's basically
Like, say you were saying those who
fingerprint.
might not have or believe in
Yeah.
God or something. So how does that? How can they grasp onto that?
So that's, some people call it the fingerprint of God.
Okay.
Mathematically, it's everywhere. If it's mathematically everywhere, and if you adhere to, you were born in the image. So the image has a numerical sequence. And if you look at that sequence, like I said, it's in everything, from a nautilus shell, which is easy to see,
Okay.
a crashing wave, all the way to the macrocosm of the
Okay.
Milky Way. It follows that numerical pattern. Even our bodies, this segment, if you look at your fingers, and y'all can't quite see it from the podcast, but your digits are segmented in 1, 1, 2, 3, 5.
That's amazing.
Wow.
That's so amazing, Nat. That's really cool.
Mind blown.
Yeah. Well,
So we are all connected.
we are. So what about, let's see, so let's go on to fitness health, which I think is another huge one. I love your pillars. They're so powerful, because if we're not connected to our bodies, then what, I mean,
What do we have?
yes, that's where we harbor our soul. That's where, anyway,
Yeah.
explain a little more.
I'm a firm believer in just health and fitness, and just eating well and nourishing your body, and what you put in, you get out, and being active, and that all becomes part of your, if you are down in the dumps. I was just talking to a friend today. I said, the first thing you can do, she said, it's hard for me to motivate, because I said, if you get out and you can start breathing and becoming active and lifting a few weights. She said, it's just hard to motivate. I said, how hard is it to motivate for you to put your shoes on and walk out the door and just take a walk in nature today?
This episode's going to be great for her.
Yeah.
It really is.
So the fitness and health aspect of the pillars, tell us a little bit about that and how you see that to be so important in this metamorphosis and reinvention.
Yeah, I heard a Buddhist monk say this, and it makes so much sense, and I'll share with you my catalyst on the fitness side. He goes, when you have your health, you have hundreds of problems.
Yeah.
When you don't have your health, you only have one problem.
Right.
That's so true. Yes.
And how are you going to be able to be there for the ones you love, the community you're trying to support,
So
if you don't
true.
have that, and you're not at the ability to be able to deliver on the things you are good at?
Well, and I think what happens is with those of us who are in midlife,
Yeah.
so youth is wasted on the young
Yes.
in a way, right?
It
Yeah.
is.
And when you're in your 20s and even 30s, I feel you think you're invincible, and you might get sick here and there, but you're just not thinking about the future.
Yeah.
And then when you hit 40 and then 50, then you start realizing that I've really got to take care. I only have one me, and I have to take care of it. And sometimes if you wait until then, it can be too late, because they say that disease starts taking place in the body 10 or 15 years prior to when you start seeing symptoms.
Yeah.
So if I'm now having symptoms of something, it's been building for 10 or 15 years. Why can't I teach my children that they can start in their 20s with this, and then when they get to be 40 and 50, it's going to be a healthier 40 and 50. We're not going to have, it's so important to, metabolic diseases are on the rise. I mean, there's a lot of people, diabetes and heart disease, and they're preventable. And people just don't realize that, or don't really care about it or give it time when they're in the prime of their lives, which is the perfect time to get started.
Agreed.
So I know that you went through an amazing transformation. We saw the video. You shed a lot of weight. You went into the gym. You started lifting weights with a trainer. How did that change your life and your mind frame from when you went through the divorce into that transformational change in your physical?
Yeah. So first, it started with a catalyst, and everyone needs that catalyst, and you have to recognize it and define it to be able to take advantage of it. And
Yes.
it was as simple as taking my youngest daughter, I call her baby girl, she's my baby girl, and I took her up 11 steps from the first floor to the second floor, and I was absolutely gassed.
Is that right? Yeah.
And she was, I don't know, 2 years old. I don't know, what's that, 20, 30 pounds? And I thought to myself, if there was, God forbid, a fire or something,
Right.
I would have felt helpless.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I couldn't do anything. And I was like, I got to do something. And at the time, like many people, we mask our problems, whether it's with alcohol, drugs, whatever hobby, video games.
Yeah.
And that's what I was doing. I was masking with some alcohol and some other things that wasn't productive. And I chose at that point that I needed to be there for my kids, no matter what the case is. That's a responsibility as parents we take on.
Right.
And so, I guess fortunately or unfortunately for me, I never do things slowly. I'm extremely impatient. So I threw the kitchen sink at it and I got a trainer. And the thing though is for someone out there that thinks they need to make a change for their physical health, you don't have to be like me or anybody. Be like you. And I shared that with someone who saw my quick transformation, and he said in the gym, Nat, what did you do?
Right.
Tell me everything. I was like, no, I'm not going to tell you everything. Let me ask you this: what do you eat and drink? Because it can just start there.
Correct.
Because he was already working
Yes.
out. For some people, I say, hey, just try to get to 5,000 steps a day.
Right.
And I've had people make tremendous progress there. This one person, I asked him, so let me ask you, what do you eat and drink? He goes, well, I drink a lot of sodas and stuff like that. And I told him, all you have to do is switch from those 2 sodas a day to water.
Water.
Right.
Yeah.
In 30 days, I had forgotten about it. He came back and says, oh my gosh, Nat, I didn't lose 5 or 10 pounds like you said. I lost 15 pounds.
Wow.
Just from stopping the
That's
soda.
amazing.
Just from one
Absolutely.
thing.
Wow. One
So,
change.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
when you're out there, you're like, oh my gosh. If you happen to see the video, it's like, no, you don't have to get a personal trainer. If you can, great. But start with the 5,000 to 10,000 steps.
Right.
Or
Lean
the
in.
water.
You can just lean in.
Right.
But just be consistent.
Right.
Just be consistent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a huge
Yeah.
key. And just touch base now with third. We're moving on to the family and community
Yeah. I mean,
pillar.
that's what we do it for, right? I mean, if you don't have community and your family, what are you doing it for?
Yeah.
So many people have challenges as they get older because their kids move away or
Yes,
they don't
Shannon and
have
I are going to
friends.
be facing that in a
Empty
few
nester
years.
soon, I know.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're social creatures. We need that
Yes.
community and we need love.
Yes.
And however that is conveyed. And when you think about those things, and that's what will stir you to do things, whether getting fit, going to the next stage in your life, whatever that may be.
Yeah, I think I'm telling my mom, who's retired, socialization is so important for your
Yeah.
health.
Yes.
We're social creatures.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we have introverts and extroverts, but even those introverts need to get out and to be with their friends, make
sure.
friends night. I mean, Shannon and I, we do girls' night out, with our
Right.
friends. There's like the adult learning center that I just went to check out for my mom yesterday. There's always something to keep growing and learning to be with people. I think that's really important. And then I think
is.
there's one more, Shannon. There's
Well, there's finance and business as
no.
well.
We did. Oh, did we skip that one?
Yeah,
Yeah.
We skipped it.
over
Oh, okay, we got to
Yeah.
back it up. Sorry. Finances and business.
Yeah, finance and business. I had the business because I work with a lot of business owners, but just finance in general. Fortunately or unfortunately, we live in the Western world and
Yep.
you need money. And without that financial stability at minimum or progress, it's just going to be a challenge.
You're constantly at survival mode.
Yeah,
and
you
you
are.
can't really flourish when you're constantly in that state. It creates a lot of anxiety and cortisol and angst. Don't
Yeah.
you agree?
Yeah. I mean, they say the number one and two reasons for divorce is first, I think it's alcoholism, and then it's finances. And a lot of times the finances lead to alcoholism,
Right.
right?
Right.
So having that stability, and again, it's not about getting to be a millionaire, whatever the case may be.
Right.
It's really about, hey, are you living within your means?
That's what I was just about to say. That's the
Yes.
most important thing.
Yeah.
Right.
And creating a budget and sticking to it and not living beyond your means.
Yeah.
It's really important.
Yeah.
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 And what
Credit
makes you
cards
happy?
could be like
Oh, yeah.
very dangerous.
Yeah,
Very
extremely.
dangerous.
Yeah, I've experienced.
agree.
I've seen a lot of other people experience, and managing that just alleviates everything, and it allows you to be your best and do the things that you were meant to do on this earth.
Right.
I love that. And then finally, for your fifth pillar, we have future and legacy. And I was just talking about this, I think, with Shannon or another friend of mine about your legacy as we get older and we age. What do we want to leave behind?
Yeah, Rhonda. There's two part of it. The future part is, what do you have to look forward to? You know, a lot of folks are so much in the grind and doing these things, or taking care of the house, or trying to progress in their careers or their business, and they don't think about what do they have to look forward to. It could be that vacation. It could be climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, right?
Right.
Just try to say that twice. Whatever that low to mid goals may be, what gets you excited? Because if you don't get excited about something, you're not going to be able to deal with the day to day.
Right. You
Right.
definitely have to set goals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, like that trip to Italy that Shannon was mentioning last night.
Yes.
Something to look forward to.
Yeah. And then legacy. Hey, what are you going to leave behind?
Yes.
As we hit midlife, we realize, okay, it's not just about us. You know, oftentimes we have children. What are we going to give them? And part of the reason why I wrote the book was not only to impact the community, but something my kids can come back and say, hey, this is what Dad believed. This is what his
Right.
mission was about. And maybe just a nugget or two to be able for them to use and grow from.
And not just for your
Absolutely.
kids, Nat. What about your gift to everyone who picks up that book and reads it? You're giving a huge gift to other people as well.
Yeah, I appreciate
That's
it. Yeah,
amazing.
for sure.
Yes. So
Pain
now
is power.
we're going to move
Moving
on to
on.
pain is power. So you have called this, it's a concept. That's in your book as
Yes.
well. And it's the idea of running into the storm instead of avoiding it. And I guess this happened with your divorce. And I was thinking about this concept, and I sometimes, for me personally, I'll get paralyzed with fear. It'll just shut me down and I can't move. So how do we do this? How do we get through this? And how did you do it?
Yeah, so I say pain is power in the fact that pain is just energy. And we can use that energy to spiral down or use that to flourish. And it's just the universe's way of letting you know that you need to do something different.
Right.
And if you notice a lot of the great artists of the world and the great athletes of the world, whether you talk about Jordan and Kobe and Brady, as far as using that pain, if you're in the athletic world, or you're in the music world, it drives them. Some of the most beautiful songs that comes out
That's true.
are through massive challenges and pain.
I'm
right?
thinking of what's the man that lost his son? He fell out of the window. It just escapes me. But
As a music artist, Eric Clapton.
Eric Clapton.
Yeah.
Thank you, Shannon.
Oh,
Thank you. His son fell out of the window, and he wrote the most beautiful song.
Tears in Heaven.
Yes,
Yeah.
right. Yeah. So yes.
Yeah. So just transmute that energy, convert it. And when I was going through that process, I had that, really rough, hey, doubting yourself, thinking about the past. What could you done differently? What can you do now? And instead of, after 3 months, instead of just keep wallowing on that same thought pattern, I was like, oh my gosh, what do I do? And for some reason, my mind went to the whole concept of when you were a kid, your mom and grandma used to always say, hey, don't watch those horror movies before you go to bed. It's going to give you
Right.
nightmares.
Right.
And so I thought to myself, what if you give yourself good mares? I don't know what's a good word for that. So I started listening or looking for meditations. And so I loop meditations all through the night.
Right.
And about a month to 2 months later, I was able to snap.
It got
out of
into your
it.
subconscious.
Subconscious.
That's
right.
amazing. And,
Yeah.
and another thought I was thinking about this is you have to break down sometimes to break through.
Yeah.
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 But I love this idea, what you're telling me, because there's some great meditations and you just put it on and
Yeah.
subconsciously it can, if you don't realize it, but it's working while you sleep. And so this is amazing. So you just woke up one day, like you just flipped it.
Yeah, I had to embrace it. I heard this great concept by another speaker, and I use it in the book. You can either be a cow or a buffalo. See, cows, when they see a storm coming, they run away from the storm, and the clouds keep following them, prolonging your pain. Or you can be a buffalo. Buffaloes, conversely, run into the storm. And I like to say they see the clouds or the sunshine and rainbows faster.
Oh, that's another great
Good
metaphor.
analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that. That's powerful because again, like a lot of people, they'll hit that pain and they get down in the dumps, do you know? And so I think those are some great steps.
Yeah, I like to intensify that pain because while I don't love being in the
What?
pain, I want it to be shortened though.
Right.
So like
And
if
there
I
is
have
no
to,
way around it
yeah,
other than through it.
yeah,
So, yeah.
like if I have to run a lap around the track, if you go slow, it's just going to take longer. Let me just run and get through it.
It takes courage. It really does, doesn't it?
Courage,
It takes
and again,
courage.
courage. What you're saying before, the fear, it's not courage. Is not the absence of fear. It's doing the right thing, even in the presence of fear.
Okay, Nat, how about we delve into this idea that you have in the book called Getting a PhD on You? I like the sound of that, and
Yeah.
I'd like to hear more about that.
Yeah, the PhD on you is that you have to understand yourself. The more you understand yourself, the more you understand how you can approach getting out of those ruts, how to progress, and knowing what you want and what you're good at. And so it's one of those things that you will always have to keep diving into yourself and learning about yourself, whether you take assessments, whether you ask other people, because there's many perspectives. You might have this thought of what you are like to the rest of the world, but it's not always a true reflection of what the world sees you are. And so that you have to get both self analysis and reflection on the things that you do and how you think, but then you also want to get others, folks close to you, and just outside of that circle, so that you can understand what's actually happening in your mind, what are you doing to be able to really move forward. Because if you don't understand you, how are you going to understand other people? Or how do you understand how to approach life?
Right. And some people don't even know what they want. As a coach, you probably see that they don't even really know what brings them joy or makes them happy. So when I hear you talk about that, are you asking the person to ask like their family members to,
Yeah, how do you get
yeah.
a PhD on you?
yeah, what would
What's
be
the
the
first step?
steps?
Yeah. One of the things is to evaluate what are your values. I go through that in the 5 pillars is, hey, what do you actually believe in? I had to think through during the divorce, okay, this concept of family and loyalty and those things they're still important. But how do you adjust that? Because that is now shattered. And so how do you adjust what life is and what that means for you? Do you just dismiss love in the future? You got to rethink that.
Right.
So, what do you constantly believe in and reflect on what you believed in or thought you believed in, and what do you believe moving forward, and constantly fine tuning that. And also, how do you tick? Great assessments like you hear Myers Briggs, DISC assessment, which I love, Kobe. You can
Yes.
take some of those tests and you can search while we have more detailed ones, you can search for free DISC, DISC, and have you understand some of your personality styles. There are other cool ones out there that I can share with some
Enneagram.
links. Anagram, that's a
Enneagram.
really good one.
I
Very
just did a
spiritual
class
side
on
of
that.
it.
Yeah.
Oh, very
It's
cool.
very interesting.
Yeah, I like that one too. And then there's one, what's it called? It's slipping my mind right now. The Hexaco. Hexaco is a really good one as well, and it measures your character, your humility, and those things. And just if you're not humble, that's okay. You just got to understand that, right?
Right.
Right.
Or if you want to be more humble, now you know if you actually are or not.
Right.
And you have these baselines that you can work off. I think that's a great first step. And then that's the true litmus. And then you ask them, hey, what I love doing is I even ask my kids, and I was just floored and especially if you have kids, it's so funny what each kid says. If you had to give a one-word descriptor or one phrase of me, what would it be?
Right.
That's my youngest, my baby girl, right? And if my other kids are listening, I love you too, Christian and Marilyn, but this she happened to say this to me. She says, Dad, you're just always in a hurry. And it made me pause.
Yeah.
Are you an Aries?
No, I'm a Taurus. I'm a
Oh,
Taurus.
Taurus. Oh,
Yeah,
you could be close to
On the
Aries there.
cusp.
I don't know. They're always in a hurry.
But that's a great way to get feedback. A one word or one phrase descriptor from the people you love, from your
Right.
friends, really helps get a lens of who you really are.
Yeah.
And
or at least how others in the world see you.
yeah,
And well, also, did you take that and maybe slow down a little bit in some areas of your life?
a tinge.
tinge.
I forget sometimes. I always tell people I got 2 gears. Sixth gear, I used to say first, and now I say neutral.
Okay. Well, that's really interesting and very, I think self-awareness is really, really powerful and important. So thanks for those tips. And we're going to leave all of these websites on our website or on our
We'll
Shannon,
leave
I
the
think-
links.
We'll
in
leave the links.
in the show notes, Facebook, Instagram,
Yes.
all the places.
So maybe
that
you
we-
guys can take those tests.
Yeah.
So next we're moving on to something called ACEs, which I learned about in school as a social worker. They're called Adverse Childhood Experiences. And I want you to tell our audience what that test is and how they can take it and why they matter, why the results matter, and how they can quietly shape their behavior, decisions, and identity through the ACE test.
Yeah, the ACEs, I learned that through a book called Childhood Disruptive, and it's fascinating how these challenges and trauma affect us from early childhood.
Yeah.
You know, from 5 years old, 13 and 18, I think it says, are monumental times in your life. And if you go through a parental divorce, a major death in the family, other really massive trauma, it can really not only affect your identity, but your health.
Yeah.
Right. Isn't that an eye
It's,
opener?
it's a major eye opener. And
And then it affects your adult persona. I mean, everything
does.
about what you become as an adult, it's the childhood, the 5, 13, 18 is still deeply entrenched in that part of you. So I guess this all goes along with getting the PhD in you and unpacking some things
Right.
that maybe you didn't want to in the past,
Yes.
or, and yet it's time.
If there was abuse, if a family member went to prison, if I think divorce is one, that you need to take the test. And if there's like trauma, the thing that we were talking about health that I'd like to circle back really quick about the fitness and the health, because that kind of brought tears to my eyes because I have a friend that's going through breast cancer right now. Anyway, we don't want to cry, but she was very healthy. She ate very well. She worked out every single day. So I think too, I'm not saying this is her, but I think there's some people that hold emotional stuff in, maybe from these ACEs, the trauma they experienced. And if you don't work it out, if you're holding anger or resentment or
Sadness or
negative feelings, that
being
shame,
ashamed.
guilt, all of those inside you, that can cause dis-ease. So it's not only the physical health that we need to work on, it's also our mental health, whether in working out and forgiving and moving on and reframing some of these traumas that happen to us when we're younger.
Because it does end up manifesting itself on the outside.
Yeah.
I mean, the best way to know is that if at least if you should explore further is take the ACEs test.
Right.
And this is one of the few tests you want to get a lower score.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
The higher score, that means you've gotten more trauma and that you really want to look at it, whether you get professional help or people that you trust, and work through those.
Yes.
And I think it's a score from 1 to 10. And if you hit, 4 or higher for sure, you definitely want to think through whether, like I said, talking to somebody professionally or someone you trust, and
Right.
working through those.
Right.
And it's so deeply ingrained in you. I know I had a lot of what I call releases from some deep tissue, and I was practically in tears.
Yes.
And I know it was some caught up emotions. and
Yeah.
We
things that
hold it in
kept
our body. We
Yeah.
hold that emotion in our body. And so if we don't learn to get it out, it can then again manifest into dis-ease. And the other thing I wanted to share was, it's just gone right out of my head, Shannon.
Yeah. It's all right.
Another one of those.
Yeah, another one of those. But
It's just important to be able to work through it, to be able to unpack it, because it is very freeing. At the
It
end of
is.
that, the
Right.
feeling of relief, and you're able to actually move forward in your life if you are able to work through
And
some of these
heal.
things and heal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and what came back to me is this test is an awareness test. So if
Yes.
you get that higher score, you know that what it tells you is that your chances of getting cancer or heart disease are increased. So that
Yeah.
awareness might make you take, like you said, get therapy or make changes in our exercise, in the way we eat. So
Yes.
that awareness is important.
Yeah.
Okay.
How
Yeah.
about this? A lot of people, you might gain awareness. Maybe some will hear this, but they
Yeah.
don't actually do any change. And I want to know, what advice can you give? Like, where does that breakdown usually happen? How can you help people move into actual action and put their money where their mouth is?
Yeah. In order to change, though, there's a great section in the book. I use this John Maxwell's observation. In order to change, they need to hurt enough they have to. They need to see enough that they are inspired to. They learn enough that they want to, or they receive enough that they are able to.
Okay.
And so,
Wow.
oftentimes, if you want to make that change, first decide what you want, or as Matthew McConaughey once said, decide what you don't want first.
Okay. I like
Process
that.
elimination. I can't quite get
Yeah.
the Texas drawl.
Right. Yes. What page is that on in your book so I can tell?
The page is
You had it. And then
5.
Page 5.
4. Page 4.
page 4. Okay, page
And
4.
so that allows you to really think through, hey, what is it you don't want? A lot of times when you figure out what you don't want, that will get
Make
you
it easier to
make
figure
it
out what
easier.
you do.
Yeah. And so I
Hmm.
would encourage you, to do that first and foremost, to be able to, get that change. And
Can you give us, in your own example of what happened with your transformation, what did you decide that you did not want?
I didn't want to be able to be huffing and puffing from 11 steps, going up the steps, carrying my
Right.
baby girl.
Right.
Right.
And I didn't want to be able, or didn't want not to be strong enough, man enough, whatever you call it, to be able to take care of my family in a
Right.
crisis.
Right.
Yes.
And so I didn't want that. What did I want? So I wanted to be able to be more fit. I wanted to have better cardiovascular and
Yes.
cardio, all those things, to be able to do the things I wanted to do. And you know, I often talk about the 5 heroes, or 5 winners and 1 hero. And it's just an easy mnemonic to remember. And it's what, when, where,
Who?
who,
Why?
why, right? And that's a
Who,
big
what, when,
one.
where, why?
Yeah.
The how will figure itself out. That's the hero. Everybody just
that's
jumps
right.
to the how.
Right.
First, figure out, why is this important?
Right.
And when do you want to do this by? And where does this have to happen? And who can help you? So I call that the 5 heroes or 5 winners and 1 hero. And really write that down. And it's just a simple process.
Yeah.
Yet a lot of folks don't write those
Simple
questions down
questions
first.
Yes.
down.
They just jump to the how. It's like, I'm going to do this thing.
And you can let go of the how, because the how will take care of itself.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
If you co-create with God, or if your faith, it'll
Yes.
unfold. It'll just
Yeah.
unfold. But answer those other questions first.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. So,
Okay.
Shannon, I'm not sure if I answered that question
You
for you, but
did.
yeah,
You did.
yeah.
And I'm also seeing here in the notes that, can you tell us a little bit about the 55 at 55 plank challenge?
Yeah, so I was really frustrated, and anytime these days, go through some discomfort or challenge, I go into something physical. And we moved recently, about 3 months ago, and I don't have my punching bag set up yet. And I was like, all right, if I live places, I'm going to tear something. So I got into a plank, and I did it for 5 minutes. And the whole Elevate X concept is to unlock your exponential potential. So I said, what if I double that? What if I triple that? And I thought to myself, what if I 10X that?
Wow.
And I'll
So
go
you wanna do a
55
plank
minutes
for 55
plank
minutes.
for at 55.
55-minute plank.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm at 30 right now.
Okay.
Okay.
So
It's a good goal.
yeah,
It is.
And so May 3rd is my birthday, and so I got
It's coming up.
39 days left. Yes, and so I wanted to do something for mental health awareness, and so that's in May as well. And I feel like if I sink into discomfort, it's actually freeing. again, pain is power.
Right. Well, some people have to listen to their pain too
Oh,
and,
yes,
and back
yes.
off. You don't want to
Yeah,
hurt
yeah.
yourself, right?
For sure. I think there's a balance between being really uncomfortable and where you feel like this is going to actually hurt you.
Right. So
And again, that's about getting that PhD on you, right? Knowing the
right.
difference.
Right.
Yeah, when to push and when to like, oh, I'm going to break.
right. So this has all been so informative. And I know you recently, I want to just talk about your book. You released, I think, in October of 2025. And I know you worked hard on it, and it's got so much great information. So
We will definitely include a link to the
yes.
book.
Oh, appreciate it.
So,
Thank you.
so Nat, we want to close up here with a golden nugget. We always do at the end of every episode. So, if you had to leave our listeners with one actionable takeaway that they can implement, you said over maybe the next 7 days, right? What would that be?
Yeah, I would say really think about those 5 pillars. And whether you get the book or not, I'm going to simplify it. What is the thing that you want most in each pillar? When it comes to your faith and spiritual, what's one thing? People often worry about so many things, and your mind gets cluttered on that. Just focus on one thing. What do you want most in your faith right now, your fitness, your finance and business, your family and community, and your future and legacy? And from there, you can do a little spider diagram. You can just rate it 1 through 5 or 1 through 10, whatever is easiest. And the point is that you don't necessarily need to get everything to 5 or a 10. You want it so that it's 5 here, 6 there, 4, 6, etc. Versus you're a 9 in maybe finance and business, but your health is at a 2.
Right.
If that's okay. Through this next 7 days, think through that, reflect on that. If 1 is really low, how important is it to get up to just a 3 or a 4?
Yeah.
Right.
You don't have to jump.
Recalibrate.
Yeah, recalibrate. And then doing those 5 pillars, which I think really is my purpose these days, is helping people through those 5 pillars, is knowing what to target. Because if all those are straight, and say your family and community is at a 2, maybe you might want to think about your family. Maybe that's what's falling apart. And so that will allow you to work through kind of step by step. And again, if all of them are a 2, just pick one.
Right.
Start there.
Right.
Nat, this has been so amazing. Such great information. I hope all of you guys have taken notes. Where can we find you? How can our listeners find you? Do you want to share your email or?
Yeah. I'm on Instagram. I'm Nhat_Pham, NHAT_PHAM. If you just Google me, Nhat Pham, NHATPHAM, you should probably find me. If you want to say Virginia to kind of narrows the scope, you might see the Vietnamese billionaire that has the name
Is
Nhat
that
Pham.
you?
That is not me,
Okay.
unfortunately. To
Not
my
yet.
mom's chagrin,
Not
my girlfriend's
yet.
chagrin, that is not me. But if it's not that guy, it's more than likely me. Also, you can go to getelevatex.com.
And you can find that on Amazon.
Yes.
Please, you
Well,
gotta,
we will
gotta check your
give
book out.
Midlife Talkshop listeners a special link to that book
Yeah.
online.
Great.
So it's
Yeah.
been great to
Appreciate
have you.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you
you
so much
so
for all
much.
of the advice.
Yes.
We hope that everybody out there goes forward with a better day because of it.
Yes. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you, Nat. It was amazing.
Thank you so much for having
guys
me
have
on.
a great week out there.
See you in 2.
Enjoy spring.
Please follow Midlife Talkshop Podcast on Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Hit the like button, leave us a comment, and share with your friends.